Good evening and welcome to the Paulding County Board of Commissioners July 28, 2015 board meeting. We have invited guests here, and I'm trying to see if there's any elected officials in the room. I don't see any, but thank you all for being here. Marcia, you mind bringing them? This evening for our invocation, we have Pastor Charles Rachel with World Ministry Christian Church. If you'll come to the lectern. And right after that, we'll do the presentation of colors by Boy Scout Troop 607. So will y'all stand with me if you're able?
Let us pray. Eternal and most holy, precious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the privilege to gather this evening to do your bidding for Paulding County, for the communities, for their families. Lord, we pray that you would magnify your grace upon each of these board members this evening, that they may be used by your mighty hand to lead Paulding County into its greatest days. As you lead them, may you lead them, Lord God, and grace them with unity to exemplify and to example how it is to work one with another. We pray, Heavenly Father, that as they do so, that we as a community will also unify to glorify your name. Lead each of us tonight. We thank you for your presence in this place. In Jesus' holy name, amen.
Amen. All right, y'all ready? Color guard, Van. Color guard, Hawk. Right face. Join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Color guard, Smith.
Minutes, action on July 14, 2015 work session minutes and the July 14, 2015 board meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carries 5-0. There are no announcements, no invited guests, no bid awards, no reports from committees and departments. Public participation on agenda items. We have two people, but Ms. Helms, you're only able to speak once a day.
I thought that it was on two different, as long as it was two different agenda items.
It does say, well, the ordinance actually reads that under section 3 of the ordinance, each speaker is limited to one speaking opportunity during each meeting day. So unless we suspend that rule, it's actually one time each day.
Let's think about that while Ms. Hollenship comes forth on 178 Owens Mill path. culvert replacement.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thanks for letting me talk to you guys. This morning, when I was in the meeting this morning, there are a couple of things that I heard that kind of concerned me. When we were talking first about the culvert replacement over down at the Lake Swan, we were talking about the fact that that had to be done because on the south side it was really, really bad. And it was bad on the north, but it was really, really bad on the south, and that it could go at any time. Well, if you guys remember when we had our last flood, it was a it wasn't a 3-day thing. It was a thunderstorm that just did not move, and we had flooding. So this is my concern here. Again, this could happen at any time. Even if we go and approve it tonight, it's going to take a while to get those in there, and we could still have a problem. Again, this is why when we have asked, several of us have asked you in the past to try to look at some cuts and stuff to keep more money in our emergency fund. This again is another reason, and that was brought clearly to me, that another reason why we should keep more money in our emergency fund, because we never know when we're going to have an emergency. And you know, the time, what you share success is not that you maintain an emergency fund, but that you increase an emergency fund. So I do just encourage you guys to continue to look at cuts and stuff so that we don't have to take so much money out of our emergency fund. As far as when I asked about Mr. Croft and the Croft Architectural Fund, this is my question. Do we ever bid out architectural drawings like we do general contractors? Because that's the best way you're going to ever find that you get the true price. I think this is a lot of money for a building that's already been designed, and we've already paid them just to move it from one location to the other. Whether you agree or disagree with that, I just thought this was a large amount. I've worked in construction and general construction with commercial. We've worked for the city of Atlanta. We worked for the state. We've built mega churches. We've worked for several, and I just thought this was for a redraw. This was quite a bit of money for that. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you. It does say in the ordinance limited to one speaking.
Okay.
Consent agenda, we have action on 2 consent agenda items. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nay? Carries 5-0. There's no old business under new business. Action to approve the termination of the contract between Paulding County Board of Commissioners and Prime Construction for the construction of the E911 fire station facility located on the airport parkway.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to suggest that we consider as a board the tabling of actually both new business 1 and 2 and get an extension if necessary with Prime Construction because of the many things that were discussed this morning and some of the information that is not in yet. For example, if we went to the new site, the industrial waste site, the current per acre price in that area has been $65,000 an acre. So we haven't discussed really what we're willing to pay if we were to go that route. We haven't determined if we can survey out the existing construction-ready site so that the taxpayers' total of $658,000 won't be down the tubes. We haven't learned whether we can survey that out, and then it won't be a part of the environmental assessment. So there's a possibility that we could begin work at that site in the very near future if those things were determined. So I think there's a lot of information that could still be brought to our board and could be discussed before we arrive at a final answer.
I need a date on the motion. You want to table until?
Table, and I'd like to hold it out until the first meeting or the second meeting in August. So we've got actually 4 weeks to get the information in. We could possibly hear from the whole audience. We've met this afternoon with Jim Croft and with David Mumford, the Director of 911, so we got some good information. But I still have several questions and the things that I just annotated. I just think we just found out about a prime contractor running out last week, so sorry about that, Pam.
I'm sorry.
And so all these considerations and questions had come up in fairly short order. So I think we could benefit by tabling. So to answer your question, the table until the second meeting of August.
Which I have is August 25th.
I'll second that. There's a motion and second, now discussion.
Tabitha, thanks so much for helping us get the meeting together this afternoon with Croft. A lot of good things came out of there. We met with Croft and our 911 director, Mr. Mumford, and some others, and I think Mr. Carmichael and Mr. Collette met at 4. Mr. Crow and I met at 5. We were in there for about an hour, and a lot of good things came out of that. It was interesting to see that they had actually looked at the site that we're looking at before, and that had actually been their #1 site to pick for a 911 center in the OC. And a lot of good things came out of the meeting as far as infrastructure that's there on Industrial Way, that basically we could get that 911 center built. And moved over there fairly easily and saved money as far as infrastructure is concerned. Also, with everything going on out at the airport with the environmental assessment, I don't think they're going to allow us to cut out that property and take it away from the environmental assessment. I believe they basically halted everything on that. We waited a long time for a 911 center, and our citizens deserve that. Our employees deserve that. We need to get that done. That was in a splosh vote, and it's time to get that done. Another thing that kind of came out of the meeting, because of the time that we've now taken with the environmental assessment and different things, that $3.2 million bid up at the airport for a combined facility is probably going to run a good bit more. Nobody really said how much more, but I could see 15% more than what it was back when it was done. And we don't have that kind of money right now to do that in our splosh. We do have the money to move forward with this project and get this taken care of over there on Industrial Way, which was where it was very first proposed to go, and it was suggested that that would be the best site. We have no idea, and I said it this morning, how long the environmental assessment is going to go on, but I could see it going on through the first quarter of next year. I mentioned in this morning's meeting, may get that environmental assessment back by the end of the year, but after looking at some things and making a few phone calls, I could also see it being March, April, or so before we get that back. And then we don't know how that's going to go. And then before we know it, we haven't taken care of the 911 center. I've also, logistics of the 911 center going out on Industrial Way versus out at the airport, that's really the place it needs to go. So I'm not for that. You know, this came up several months ago. Mr. Carmichael and you and I spoke, and I think we all got to go to the 911 center and take a tour. We talked to the employees there and the director and gotten some information from there. And I thought at that time we were pretty much on board for doing that and moving forward to getting this done and over there close to the DFAX building. So, of course, and again, you and I talked Sunday, which was a great conversation, but I'm not for doing that. I think we need to move forward and get this taken care of for the citizens and for the employees.
Well, here's the thing. The citizens have paid in because of our vote. You and I and Mr. Austin were part of that vote in September of 2013 to use the site and to develop that site. And we talked this morning about the gains and earth moving to make that construction ready. And as a result of our vote, you know, you were one of the votes again, $358,000 has been invested by the taxpayer in that site. And in your comments just there, you said, I don't think. And that's the reason I like to table it, is we still have some questions that, you know, I don't think that they will allow us to delay, but we don't know that they might totally extract that building site and allow us to go ahead with the plan that we voted on, and that now we've spent $258,000. We, the taxpayers, have spent $258,000 of their money to locate it there and have a multi-purpose facility. So I think it really looks bad to constituents to have, as far as the citizens are concerned, to have us just throw that money aside and say we're going to start over with Croft. We're going to pay them $192,000 for the plan that's going to go out at Industrial Way. Don't forget, after that's constructed, then we've got to do another plan for the fire station. Right now, we've got a plan, and it's paid for, that covers both of those functions, both of those purposes, and it's ready to go. We just had this snag with the environmental assessment, and if we can clear that obstacle, then we're right where we started. Of course, I want Mr. Mumford and his staff to have the best center they can have with the right communications and trunk lines and fiber and everything it takes. We can talk about that more over the next 2 meetings. But it really bothers me to think that we're going to throw away this effort. Again, something that you voted for.
I agree. I did vote for it, and if we could put everything up front, and the public knew everything that was going on, and we've done everything in where it should be, we wouldn't be in this position. I'm going to tell you something else that came up, because this is the time for discussion. It also came up in our meeting from 5 to 5:55 today, that they had looked at several places when they looked at combining it, and one of the places they looked at was right as you pull in the airport, the property that I described this morning to the left. And that wasn't quite enough room for both the fire station and the 911 center, the BOC center. However, they said that that would have worked to put the fire station there. And that was interesting, because I've been told, well, we couldn't put the fire station there, it's too far away from the airport and the time doesn't work. I don't really think that we really know those answers, and but I do know this. We don't have 3.2 to do the combined building. It's been 20 months since the announcement of the airport. The environmental assessment's going on. I don't have any reason to think it's not going to be 20 more months or more. And it's time to get this done for the citizens.
The environmental assessment may not even be a factor.
The environmental assessment right now is a factor,
But it may not.
And during our conversation today too, it also came up with, like I said, the money that we're going to save could, and it's not exactly $350,000 to $500,000 as far as on some infrastructure that we've got there that we're not going to have out there at the airport. And we've talked about this, and I thought we were good with it, and here we are. We're kind of backpedaling, and that's nothing. I don't mean that harsh on you, but
Well, we talked Sunday, but I got a lot more information yesterday and early this morning. So they're new. Again, we're scrambling to try to get the best perspective of what's going on, so that we can serve the citizens of Paulding County. And making a decision tonight, I think is. We've waited a long time anyway, and to make the right decision and wait another 2 meetings, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
To have more discussion and get clear cut where we don't think, but we know. And you said that several times, I think, and I'm not sure. And I can tell you, and it's guesswork on all of our part on, you know, if and when the EA will be done, and if and when this could be pulled out. I think we could get probably a decision from the FAA rather quickly, yes or no. But again, this period of time gives us a chance to ask those questions and, you know, just be conservative in our efforts instead of rush it. But, you know, we'll see what the majority wants to do. Any other discussion?
Yeah, let's look at what we do know. We know we have 3.2 million allotted, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Not a penny over.
Not right now. We do
Okay.
not.
It was told in our discussion today with Jim Crum that a building cannot be built for 3.2 at this point in time because so much time has elapsed. So whether we get the land out of the environmental impact study or not, we're gonna have a building that we really can't afford to build, so we can't finish the building. So how long do we wait to get the money to proceed? I think the wise thing to do, and looking at the citizens and taxpayers and the 911 employees, is let's go ahead and do what we know we gotta do, and that's move it, let them build it. We do have the money to put it there. We have the money to move them. We can get at least one of the two facilities up and running, and we have a state-of-the-art 911 center sooner rather than later.
I'd like to have a chance to spend some time with Mr. Croft, and because all five of us can't meet, three of us can't meet. So the courtesy was to give the post commissioners the opportunity today at 4 and 5 when Mr. Croft would be available, and it went right up until just about time for this meeting to start. So, you know, that time frame would give me a chance to talk to Mr. Croft and hear the thoughts that y'all got to hear today that I wasn't privileged to be able to be in, and we could, I understand.
And Mr. Croft, you remember at the meeting, Vernon, stated that the pad developed at the airport was the one that would work. They evaluated 3 different sites, and that's the one at the foot of the water tower that would accommodate the multi-purpose building. So that's why they did the design on it. Also, I mentioned earlier, we don't know, the IBA owns the property on Industrial Way where just the 911 center could be constructed. Personally, I don't care where it is. I'm just talking about the money that we've spent and not to waste it on the other side. But do you know how much the IBA is going to sell us that property for?
I think they'd be very fair to us if they didn't, and that's a problem, isn't it?
Again, that's
That's a
ambiguous.
problem with the IBA.
When you say, I think.
You're talking about teamwork earlier today, and now you're telling them they're not willing to play teamwork again.
No, I'm just suggesting that we don't know. That we don't
I do
know
know they're gonna be fair, and if they're not,
what the
there's
cost
things
of
we can do.
Well, I think appraisals have to take place. There hadn't been an appraisal on that property in 10 years. The property across the street from this property is on the market for $65,000. The going rate on the 2 acres at the airport, and I don't care where it's built. I just think the money is, you know, could be saved, is $6,500 an acre is the appraised property in that area. So we're going from 6,500 acres to 65,000. I'd like to get some idea from the IBA if we have time to have the appraisal done and see what that would cost us. So, you know, all I'm asking for is a chance just to have more discussion on this, not rush it, and make sure that we're making the best decision.
I've got a question. The land the IBA has, where did it come from?
I don't know. We'll have to find out. I'm sure that, you know, it's been purchased.
I think the county at one time owned it and just needed it over to them.
Well, see, I don't know. There's a lot of questions that we don't know.
I'd like to say this, before I went in today to talk with Croft, my thought was to take it. I thought we need to table this and look at it, possibly even get some different numbers. But once I got in there, and I was told told it's gonna cost $50,000 per mile to run the wiring out there. That's
By, Angie,
Mhm.
they told you that?
It was told in the,
Well, I'm saying, the reason for this discussion is, let's get something in writing and get something clear cut, rather than to, say,
I understand, and the number they told me was high, like $50,000, let's say it was $20,000 per mile, let's go down to the low end, that's still 10 miles out there. And if it's $50,000 per mile, you've got maybe 1 mile where we'll talk about putting it over there. So like I said, when I went into the meeting, my thought was, we need to table this, and he told us he's gonna give us back $58,000 of money that has not been used, gonna give it back over this way, so that'll be a difference. And this morning when, Mr. Carmichael was speaking, he was talking about, the money, and it's a lot of money any way you go at it. But if you look at the whole picture, and if you've been in the 911 center, the staff out there is suffering for a place to work and keep their equipment. And like I said, it wasn't too long ago that myself, Carmichael, Todd, Vernon, we all out there were all in agreement. And here we are at this time, trying to make a decision. And I understand tabling things and waiting. Just throw that out there for discussion.
Nobody spent more time in that 911 center than I have. And Dave will tell you this, during the flooding times and the tornadoes and the ice storms, nobody spent more time than I have in that center. I know what they need, and we need to move forward. Really, if y'all want to rush through this and get it done, we got a motion on the floor.
We have a motion and a second, so we need some action on this one first.
I don't think we're rushing through it. We've talked about this. We've been out there. Mr. Carmichael's been out there. The 4 of us have been there. We've discussed it. Even if we were going to sit here and talk about putting it out there at the airport right now, we don't have the $3.6, $3.8 million to do that right now. Period, cut and dry. And we can keep talking all we want. It's time to build a 911 center.
Okay.
And
Well, there's a motion and a second.
One more illustration about how much money it is that we're just putting aside. $358,000 with 700 county employees. We have a proposed budget of 2% raise for each county employee. We could raise it to 3.2% just with that amount of money added to our budget and not just having been thrown away. So it's just a waste.
Well, I don't understand, how are we gonna build it? We got 3.2 million, it's gonna cost 3.8 now. We can't do it, I don't understand.
There's a lot of unanswered questions.
There's a motion and a second to table. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Hey,
Okay,
Motion fails.
that motion fails, so is there another motion?
Make a motion to approve, number 1.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Passes 3-2. Special class here. Number 2, action to award the contract to Croft and Associates to design the E911 facility to be located on Industrial Way. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to, for discussion.
motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, now discussion.
I think so highly of Croft and Associates. I don't know that anybody could touch them, but like Ms. Hodge had said, I don't know if the estimated price that Ms. Pollard has given is $192,000 to design that industrial way location in this agenda item. And we don't have a county manager right now that I normally turn to him or her and ask, when do you bid that out? But $192,000, I think it's a lot of money, Nancy, and, but the motion says the contract to Croft and Associates, so what do I need to educate me on that, please?
Okay, I'll do that. In the meeting with Croft, being that I've been here for 4.5 years, I kind of learned a little bit that I didn't know. I also was informed that Croft has worked on several other locations, like we mentioned. The number one was what we're talking about today. And Croft has worked with David Mumford, our 911 director. He knows everything about the buildings that they have designed and drawn up and done. He feels very comfortable with it. David Mumford feels very comfortable with it. And last week, I kind of discussed with some folks, hey, do we need to look at some other things? And I agree with Nancy, sometimes you do. But Croft has done several different designs for us on this. They know what they're doing as far as this building is concerned, what the 911 center and the EOC center, what they need. And with everything they've done, they're the ones that can get it out there and get it done for us and put us where we need to be. After talking to him today, and he shared quite a bit of information with me in the packet here, being that they've worked on so many projects for the 911 center, they know exactly what needs to happen. And I think in this case, that's going to be the company we need to stick with.
I remember you didn't want certain people to do the environmental assessment for opposite reasons. Jim Cross is a good friend of mine. We deer hunt together. I don't know company XYZ out there, though, that might know all the same things that you just mentioned. So I'll let you just listen. That might have just as much or more experience, because Croft Associates does all kinds of buildings.
Right.
They're a great company. There's a motion and a second on the floor. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Nay.
Nay.
So it passes 3-2. Number 3, action to approve and authorize the chairman to execute an amendment to the existing Garney design build contract to include the design and construction of the new 1 million gallon Macklin water tank for the cost not to exceed $1,539,000. Do I hear a motion? I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second from Mr. Carmichael. Discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I guess it carries 5-0. Number 4, action to authorize Seymour Contractor New South Construction to proceed with Phase 2 of the Macklin Road Water System Facility in the amount not to exceed $2,851,978. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries 5-0. Action to authorize the chairman to enter into a contract with Trans Systems Corporation in an amount of $67,310.42 for the engineering design services of the culvert replacement over Davis Mill Creek at Lake Swan. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries 5-0. Number 6, action to adopt the Paulding County purchasing card policy. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries 5-0. Number 7, action to adopt resolution 15-20, confirming executive session for the purposes of potential litigation personnel. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries 5-0. Number 8, action to declare items listed as surplus and donate these items to the Industrial Building Authority.
Motion on the table.
Second.
To remain certain or indefinitely,
Like to table to the second meeting in August.
which is the 25th.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
There are a couple reasons why I'm tabling this. Number one, I've had another department ask some questions about it, as far as the equipment's concerned. The other reason that I'm tabling it is I brought up some points this morning in our meeting about the bond payment that the Industrial Building Authority owes August 1st, right at $483,000. And I was told that they weren't going to pay that bond payment of $483 because of the fact that they don't know if we're going to put them in the budget or not, keep them in the budget. They're in the budget now, they don't know that we're going to keep them in the budget, which basically after some things that we all have to participate in, gives them about $275,000 to work with. I think that the IBA has a fiduciary responsibility to take care of that commitment. And after I got thinking about it today a little bit more and put the pencil to the paper, we make 2 payments a year on that. One of them's done maybe in February.
Yes, sir.
And one of them's done in February, and that's interest only. The other one's done August 1st, and it's principal and interest, and that's what totals up for the film studio, water tower, and the hangar, $483,000. And I've asked the director of the IBA to take care of that. I did find out today from our finance director that she'll be taking care of that bill, wiring the money probably tomorrow, I would imagine, and that, or sometime.
Yes, sir. I'll do it first thing in the morning. We mentioned today it would have been
Right.
today for
And
other
that-
reasons it didn't,
and that was the
but it's
plan.
gonna be done first thing in the morning.
Right, and that was the plan, that was in the meeting this morning, she did mention that, and I mentioned it was gonna be done this afternoon, it's gonna be done in the morning. Since then, the IBA has brought us a check for $208,000. And that difference of the 483, when you take away the 208, basically comes out to 275. And I said in this morning's meeting, and I don't agree with doing business that way, that if we had had any other department head that was gonna twist our arms to force us to support their budget that they want, to give them something in our budget that we haven't approved yet, to force us to do that, and I don't mean this in a bad way, that department head probably wouldn't be here any longer. You don't force your board of commissioners that's working on your budget, and we haven't approved it yet, you don't force them to support your department in a way, and that's not the way to do it. So that's the second reason I want to table this. We say, well, it's just a tractor and a bush hog. Well, I'm asking the IBA, they can call a meeting tomorrow and they can have that meeting Friday, and they need to do the right thing. That money was used over the last 12 months. So if you take away 1 month of July in this new fiscal year, if that makes sense, we got 11 months that they used that was in last year's budget. They should have the money to pay that, and that's their responsibility. And I can't continue to support the IBA on things if this is what we're going to do. And so all I'm asking to do is call the meeting tomorrow, have a meeting Friday, and pay the $483, and then ask us if we're willing to support them in what they want. I think that's the right thing to do. I don't think we should be forcing each other to do that.
Well, there's $1 million owed to the Industrial Building Authority, and if they had the money sitting in the bank to be able to make that payment, if they do, then they can't finish the hangar, and then we just create another problem, one problem behind the other. So, you know, they're dependent upon the state of Georgia, and the money flows through the FAA to the Georgia DOT. And so, they have said to them, they'll probably get $150,000. They've said to them, that we know we owe you $1 million. And there's a transportation, tax that's starting to come in, but it hasn't been collected yet, not enough to dispense out. So, they'll be on better ground to be able to make this payment in the future. We're in a situation right now where we've got it in the budget for them. They've written a check and the balances, and you know, they did what they said they would do. They brought a check up here. And then what we would apply would be the money towards that payment. And, you know, we've done that for other situations where we have actually made payments that we supported an entity here in the county, and we gave it to the attorney so the attorney could pay the IRS. So we've worked with people before, and you've been the biggest criticism of the Industrial Building Authority for the condition, and I thought, here's a great chance to give them one of the tractors that we got to make improvements and keep all the area that we've all criticized them about that needs to be cut. Now they have a piece of equipment, but if we don't want to give this to them, so be it. It's not worth the time to waste having to argue about it. If y'all don't want them to have it, you don't want them to have it. You know, but we'll continue to criticize and tell them, you know, go cut the grass and find yourself your own best piece of equipment. And then y'all need to work with us because we told you to. So, yeah, I mean, we can use all kinds of tactics. I'm hoping to find some kind of common ground where we can start all working together to make the Industrial Building Authority, the Economic Development, and the Chamber all work together to bring in jobs. I guess we're not willing to do that. So.
Well, I agree, and that sounds good, and we need to do that. I called Mr. Swafford last week, and I feel like if we could communicate, that would be good. I don't know what else I can do, Mr. Chairman, other than call and ask, but to not talk to us about it and force our hand to do that so that you can get the budget that you're asking for, and I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about him, is just not the way to, that's just not the way to do business. I mean, he could have sat down and we could have talked about it. Come up with what we need to do, but to say I'm not gonna pay it because I don't think you're gonna fund us, they owe the money. That's their projects that they have, that they borrowed the money for.
Trying to do good for the county. So, you know, it's like, we can go till the sun comes up in the morning, but there's a motion on the table, on the floor of the table. There's a second, correct? I'll call for the vote.
I had Todd and
Okay.
Does anybody want to change it to the 11th when we do the budget?
I have Tony second,
I had Vern. Is that right?
Guys, I don't remember.
Do you not want to wait that long? You want me to withdraw it? You want to table it to the
And
to the 11th?
it doesn't matter when you want to do it, you just say.
There's a motion in a second.
call for the vote.
Call vote.
I'll withdraw my motion. And I'll make a new motion to table to August 11th, which is the budget.
And, is there a second?
Second.
That's definitely Mr. Crowe.
Okay.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Any nays? Nay. Passes 3-2. Items from the 2 p.m. Planning Commission. We have 2015-6 SUP application by Vertical Life Church. Brad Parkhurst, the pastor, for a special use permit on approximately 2.18 acres for a church to be located in suites 100 through 105 only, 12,566 square feet in the existing retail center. Property is located in land lots 1250 and 1251, District 3, Section 3. Northeast side of East Paulding Drive, west of Riverwood Drive, east of Hosiery Mill Road, and Dallas-Ackworth Highway, 263 East Paulding Drive, Suite 100 through 105. This is in Post 1. If you're trying to figure out where this is, there was an Ace Hardware in this building that moved out on 381. Staff recommends the following stipulation upon Board of Commissioners approval of this application. There are two. Recommendation for approval 601. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve with the two stipulations.
Second.
I believe Mr. Crowe got you. Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries 5-0. 2015-05 the application by Steve Oxman for stipulation modification of application 2006-11-D approved by the Paulding County Board of Commissioners on January the 24th, 2006. This request is to remove the following stipulations. Owner developer to participate in off-site reuse transmission line construction. Owner developer to participate with upgrades of Westbrook Creek lift station and downstream improvement. Number 20, sewer service is to Pumpkin-Vine LAS via Westbrook Creek lift station. 21 is this is the reuse subdivision. Owner developer to absorb generated daily flows on reuse lots. Calculation to be provided with reuse master plan at preliminary plat submitted. Property is currently zoned PRD, planned residential development. Is located in land lots 1032, 1057, 1058, 1103, District 3, Section 3 on the north side of Culvert Road, east of Ivy Village Road. This is in Post 4. Staff recommends approval on the applicant's request to remove prior zoning stipulations. However, after water system review and discussion with the applicant, prior stipulation 21 will remain in effect prior to stipulation 18 through 20. And a request to replace those with proposed new stipulation. It says in bold print, and that would be number 19. Owner developer will enter into a development agreement with the Paulding County Board of Commissioners for their proportionate share of costs for off-site infrastructure related to the sewer outfall between Possum Creek Sewer Lift Station and the southern property line of the development formerly known as Bent Brook. The reuse distribution main from the intersection of Ivy Village Road and Culvert Road to the intersection of Ivy Village Road to Brightside Parkway. This is in Post 4. I believe with a little clarification so that everybody understands this, is how and where the monies will be spent. Is that correct?
The development agreement would cover how the amount of money to go toward those reuse lines. The issue was where the sewer will go. When the original stipulations were put in place, there were other developments in the area that were also going to be allowing gravity service down to Westbrook from this development. Those did not get done, and sewer will actually be pumped at this point to cover my plan.
And stipulation number 21, which is the reuse subdivision, is remaining in effect. So he had originally asked for that to come out, and we have included it to stay in. And the owner developer that applied for that.
Okay, we're on the motion. Second.
We need a motion in a second.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Well, a motion to approve.
With the stipulations.
With the stipulations.
And I guess, how do we need to say that? The
I would
stipulations.
say with the
And the-
stipulations as staff has written them.
Okay. Motion is second. Any discussion?
Are we good with that one? Everything, I know what happened today, but,
Staff has written them.
right. Do we have anything In other words, that 21 being there is still okay being
It's
there
written in
because
staff.
it's written back?
It's written back, the way staff has done it.
So we're covered. Okay. All right, sounds good.
So we have a motion on that by Commissioner Crowe.
Motion is second, any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It carries out 5-0. That's the conclusion of regular session, there's no executive session, public participation on non-agenda item, Roy Sparks, on water and reservoir.
And if you wouldn't don't start the time to speak.
I have started.
Okay. Good evening, Commission Chairman and Commissioners. I humbly and respectfully ask for an additional 5 minutes on this serious subject.
You would have to vote on that.
We'll send we can do that.
Okay, well, I'm gonna be reading fast and get everything I can in. On February the 25th, 2014, I listened to Baldwin County Water Systems Director Michael Carter make a presentation to BOC saying they needed to approve an amendment to Arcadis Engineering's contract for $488,000 because they were running into problems with Richland Creek Reservoir. He stated that they were building on cracked rock and basically said there was not a 5-gallon bucket of red clay on site to build the core of the earthen dam. All he had just explained would greatly increase the cost of the reservoir. I was seriously alarmed at what Mr. Carr's presentation told me that day. Over the next few weeks, I contacted 2 people to assist me in researching the Richland Creek Reservoir and other reservoirs in the state of Georgia. One is a retired crime intelligence analyst supervisor, the other is a watchdog. What we found is alarming. This statement has been made to me. Roy, the people voted for the reservoir on March the 16th, 1999. They voted yes 1859, no 676. I agree the people did vote for it, but the propaganda that was fed to them for years set them up for the vote. When people are lied to, the voters' freedom of the vote is stolen. Is it true that in a letter to Gary Banks, attorney for Cobb Marietta Water Authority dated February 8, 2002, from Commission Chairman Jerry Shearing, that Jerry stated, while Paulding County is in the process of building a reservoir within the geographic boundaries of Paulding County, we do not have immediate ability or finances to undertake treatment of any raw water from proposed reservoir. Since the authority is in the business of treating water, we would like some language to be included in a modified agreement to recognize the general understanding that Paulding County contemplates that the authority would one day treat the water impounded by Paulding County. Is it true that a letter was sent to Paulding County Commission Chairman Jerry Shearing dated August 11, 2008 from Glenn Page, General Manager of the Cobb Marietta Water Authority, rescinding a contract draft between Cobb Marietta Water Authority and Paulding County, which has been under consideration since 2002? This was a contract to supply water through 2042. Listen to me, 2042. It was withdrawn because Paulding County never followed through with further consideration. Keep in mind the contract draft was on the table from 2002 to 2008 and Paulding County did not complete negotiations. So the Cobb Marietta Water Authority basically said enough and stated that the current contract between the two remains valid until May 2032 until such time it may be amended. Have any considerations ever been explored to open up negotiations to amend the existing contract through 2042 or longer? Has any considerations ever been given to the fact that the reservoir is not needed today and may not ever be needed? You may need to know the Cobb Water Authority is a regional water authority serving multiple counties. They are in the water business. Is it true that by building the Richland Creek Reservoir, Paulding County is getting in the water business and will have to promote and sell water if the people of Paulding County do not need all of the water? Infrastructure will have to be put in place to sell water to other counties because if you are producing it, you have to sell it to pay your cost. Is it true 25% of the water purchased from Cobb County Water Authority cannot be accounted for? It is said this should be 10% or less. Our next subject is Tommy Craig, an attorney from Covington, Georgia. He goes around the counties in Georgia telling them they need a reservoir. And by the way, I'm a reservoir consultant. Tommy Craig has assembled a group of experts to hire to lock up most reservoir consulting business and collected millions of dollars from counties and cities. As of December 13, 2003, meeting BOC meeting, Attorney Tommy Craig made a presentation on Richland Creek Reservoir to this board here, not the board sitting today, covering the steps to move forward on the reservoir. He also stated he never worked on a failed project. If you will research Tommy Craig, you will find more information than you have time to read, numerous investigations and articles. Open records information show that Paulding County, through Infotech, to attorney Tommy Craig, paid $357,189.22. From AJC Chris Joyner, 3 small cities of South Fulton. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is worth having a little bit of talk. Number one, you live in Douglas County and you do have the Dog River Reservoir, so you'll have plenty of water for the rest of your life. Here in Paulding County, we don't have that luxury. And I'll read you a letter that was written to Mr. Edward Johnson to the Piedmont branch in Savannah. This was written by Glenn Page. Dear Mr. Johnson, on behalf of the Cobb, this was written on March the 25th, 2014. On behalf of Cobb County, the Marietta Water Authority, I am writing to support the Paulding County application for a permit to construct the Richland Creek Reservoir. As a result of legal and political challenges that are yet to be resolved, Cobb Marietta Water can provide any guarantees in the amount of water that it can supply to Paulding County. Cannot provide any guarantees, either now or in the future. Therefore, I've informed Paulding County that it would be prudent for them to develop an alternative source for supply expeditiously as practical. To be clear, Cobb Marietta Water will continue to pursue all options to increase the water supply available to us and to provide customers, including Paulding County. To do so, however, we will need the action from the Corps of Engineers on several matters, including a request for additional storage in Allatoona, and has been pending without action since the early 1980s. Given our inability to get any action from the Corps on these matters, and given the possibility of future litigation, no assurances can be provided. Note also, the Paulding County is not our only customer. We serve Cobb County, portions of Cherokee, Douglas, Fulton. Given the growth anticipated for our service area as projected by the Governor's Office of Population and Budget, it is certain that the total demand for our system will continue to rise beyond all allocated supplies currently in place. This absence of timely, definitive answers from the Corps regarding Cobb Marietta Water contacted storage in Cobb Marietta and Lake Allatoona is needed and should actively be pursued. Now, this is why I have been working towards this, and y'all heard the numbers from Ralph Tellis, that within the next 25 years, we will have $150 million that we pay Cobb Marietta Water for water, and we'll continue from there on out. If we invest today in a reservoir and build it, then we have a reservoir that will serve us for God knows how many years into the future. And our costs then will begin to come down. There'll be a slight increase at the beginning, but the cost will be able to come down. One of the ways that Cobb Marietta feels like it will fill the void in Paulding County when we go off of them within the 5-year period that it'll take to build this lake is that, of course, they've got the new Braves Stadium. So they will need, and they have, as a matter of legal action, sued the Corps of Engineers and asked them for legal action. Now, we have with us tonight our own in-house expert, Lori, if you want to come to the lectern and address any questions, and we have Mark Lethridge here as one of our consultants. I saw the same problem you did, Roy and Tommy Craig. When I got here, there was just a bill coming in and there was no explanation for it. So I fired Tommy Craig, and we hired a consultant that could get us a reservoir and get us a permit, and we have it coming. So We don't have the luxury of having a river in Paulding County. We don't have the luxury of having an interstate highway, so we have to do whatever we can. But Ralph tells us that into the future, that we'll have the same amount of money invested, and we still won't have a reservoir unless we build it today. So Lori, would you mind coming to the lectern?
Since the time that Mr. Craig has not been on the project, Paulding has employed a team of people that have worked toward getting this permit in place. The team was really led through the efforts of Arcadis and also Ron Harris, LLC, who has significant experience with permitting different reservoirs, and Arcadis with the design of dams and reservoirs. Sorry. I'm coming. That's okay. That team has led Paulding through the permitting process, has gotten us through the core questions, and to the point that the environmental assessment is down in Savannah now being reviewed, and we are waiting on draft conditions and a draft permit, which we have been told is forthcoming in these next couple of weeks. So we're anxious to reach that point. There were a lot of questions about the geotech early in the project, and if you look at one report without looking at the whole body of work, you can see that one of the things we've heard about, why do we have an earthen dam and why not a roller compacted dam? If you look at the geotechnical evidence and those reports, they fully support that you can't do a roller compacted dam with subsurface conditions. You need to do an earthen dam. We have identified soils to use for borrow material on the county-owned property at the dam. Enough soils that we will not have to be importing soils from off-site. Those soils are, and one of the areas that they're coming from is the area up near where we'll be building the water treatment plant, and the peninsula near where that is located. The subsurface conditions, yes, we're going to have to be putting a grout curtain in. That's how those geotechnical conditions are dealt with. We'll be injecting grout down through those cracks to make sure there's no seepage through underneath and to damage that dam.
Okay, I believe we have Mark Lethbridge with Brown and Caldwell that has helped lead this effort. Again, a website, www.rcrwater.com, I believe, is the site, and we try to get these questions answered early. It's nice if you have concerns to send them to us so we can answer them rather than try to sabotage a meeting and throw a kink in the process. So, Mr. Lethbridge?
No, I just think Mr. Sparks brought up some good points. If you've got some questions, send them to our website. We'll answer those. I can't speak to Tommy Craig. I wasn't around when that was going on, but as the chairman said, Tommy's no longer with this program. As far as what we've had to go through for the last 16 years, and for every question you have, the Corps of Engineers has got 20. What we've had to go through to answer all those questions. Are there needs? Are there environmental issues? What's the quality of the rock? We've been through everything and answered everything. And it's cost a lot of money. So I would say if you have more questions beyond what the Corps, please get them to us and we'll get them on the website. We'll answer them. We've been very open from day one with the RCR water just to communicate with people because we know it's a very critical issue. I'm biased. I live in Fayette County. We got 4 reservoirs. And the reason they have reservoirs is Fayette planned for years. They even added a last reservoir for drought relief. I live next to Henry County. They got 5 reservoirs. I just think the county has to look forward and say, 50 years from now, what are the conditions? I don't know what they're going to be. But one thing we do know, Car Marietta has got water for their people and a certain amount of people over the length of time. So it's a, as the future goes on, it's a roll of the dice, but right now, the whole group is trying to do the best we can to project for the future and have water for the future. Great points, though. I'm glad that you brought them up. You bring those questions to us, and we'll answer them the best we can. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Before we adjourn, I know that Roy don't live here in the county. I'm well aware of that. But it takes a lot of time and effort on his part to get this information. Roy, I want to say thank you. Roy and I have talked. He knows where I stand on the reservoir. There's no question about it. I feel like that the voters of this county overwhelmingly approved it. And it's my job to be their voice and move it along. But nevertheless, it takes a lot of time to do what Roy has done. And I really feel bad that he didn't get to express himself like he should. And I've worked with Lori. Lori has been great to answer my questions on the water reservoir, and she's doing a great job. But Roy, once again, thank you for coming.
I'd like to just say thanks to Roy for the work you do. And Roy owns a good bit of property in our county, and that gives him the opportunity to speak. So that's what our ordinances say, that if you're a citizen here or you own property here. So Roy, thank you for your comments. We probably should have given you more time to speak. I will say this, Mr. Lecters, Mark, thank you for your kind words. Very much.
Thank you very much for that.
I appreciate it.
And thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
It's a great summary. Thank you very
You
much.
did fantastic.
Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you all very much. I hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye. Bobby, thank you for being here.